Hello, Guitar Smarts fans. Before you check out this podcast, I want to make you aware of a cool new place where you can interact with other Guitar Smarts listeners. It's a Facebook group called the Guitar Geek Hangout. That's where we hang out and talk about all things guitar. So, if you like the Guitar Smarts podcast, come and chat with Kiran and myself over in the Guitar Geek Hangout on Facebook. Maybe check out some pre-podcast clips and even get involved in asking and answering lots of questions from the other page dwellers. Hope to see you there.
PRS, supposedly famed for leaving the factory with these beautiful gig-ready instruments, right? That's what everyone talks about. The concept that you're supposed to be able to take this guitar and go and gig it straight away. The action on this guitar was high, like not like intermediate, kind of a happy balance where some people might like a low action, some people might like a slightly higher one, so we'll compromise and we'll go in the middle and do an all-comer kind of action.
Really?
It was high, really high. Yeah. I was like, this is weird.
Greetings, welcome back to the Guitar Smarts podcast. If you're an everyday gigging guitarist, this is the podcast for you. This week we close out on our final thoughts from the London 2022 International Guitar Show, and Kiran laments on a missed opportunity to buy a guitar he connected with just moments before the show closed its doors. Also this week, Kiran gives us his field report after finally getting a chance to play a brand new PRS Silver Sky John Mayer's signature guitar. Was it everything he'd hoped it would be, or was he left disappointed? You'll find out if you listen on. Housekeeping. Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast on your preferred podcast app. This way you will get alerts when a new podcast is released, and that means you won't miss the next show. If you have already liked and subscribed and listened to us regularly, then use the LinkTree in the description of this show to leave us a rating or a review. This is the best way to support us and help us to grow. Use those links to get to our Buy Me a Coffee page too, if you do feel generous, and links to some of our Spotify playlists from previous episodes. Come and see us on the socials too, especially on the Guitar Geek Hangout page on Facebook, where you can interact with Kiran and myself, and many other guitar nerds just like us. That's about enough from me. Let's get to it. Kiran, man, it's been a little while. Last time we spoke was at the actual London Guitar Show, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can't do this to me, man. We had like a spate of where it was like going out to gigs, going to guitar shows, like doing podcast recordings, and then all of a sudden we've let life get in the way and back to normal for a couple of weeks. I'm having Matthew Oliver withdrawal symptoms.
Well, we need to get some more gigs in the diary for sure, because that was a good gig. Yeah, not just kinking, but I mean, obviously, the Damn Truth that supported them, they were really cool. But I just really enjoyed being out at a gig at a decent venue as well. In fact, I was looking at that venue. Like when you find a nice venue, sometimes I go like to the venue webpage and see what's on, and just think, well, I'd quite like to go and go to that venue again anyway, regardless of who's playing. So see if anybody decent's coming up, and they've got quite a few interesting gigs coming up with like tribute bands and things like that, and various other like talks. They host a lot of talks and things like that, though, lectures, which sounds quite interesting. So yeah, diversifying. I guess that's the way you've got to survive, right? If you're a venue in the modern world, you've got to diversify a little bit. Can't all be live music and beer,
I believe the children of today call it side hustles.
Side hustles, that's right. I think you're right. Yeah. Side hustle. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But
it does sound a little bit like. Yeah.
We were going to review the just kind of cover the London Guitar Show a little bit again. But do you know what? I found out something really interesting, literally just an hour or two ago, and at least it's interesting to me. And do you remember we were talking to the guys at Scan Pro Audio about their guitar? They got this new range of guitars called Fairclough guitars, and I just did some research into the team there, and it occurred to me that the Scan Pro Audio team. The first name mentioned there's a guy called Steve Fairclough, and I thought, I didn't know that. I did check a while back. I was kind of like, okay, so that's who they've named the guitar range after, the Fairclough guitars. It's the guy who's running Pro Audio. And then And then I read into it further, and it said, throughout the 90s, he worked as a worldwide demonstrator for Takamine, Parker, and Korg keyboards. And I suddenly had this click. I was like, Steve Fairclough. Yeah, I'm pretty certain I remember listening to some of his music on like Total Guitar tracks back when I was learning how to play.
Okay.
So...
Right.
Considering I have a few...
So he's reached behind him. What is he prepared?
And I've got here from my very small collection, I have issue 20 of Total Guitar, which is from July 1996. And this is the first one I grabbed. And so, I'm absolutely correct. Right, here's a review of the Takamine EF261S electroacoustic guitar, which at that time could be purchased for £795. Got a fantastic review. Sound was brilliant, and the demo was by Steve Fairclough. There's a track called Fair Enough.
How does your mind work?
And I just...
How does your mind do that?
Yeah, I know. And I also think he did some other... he appeared on Total Guitar almost on a monthly basis doing demos for things like acoustics and for Korg FX and things like that. He did the Parker Fly and stuff like that. So it's been... I think it's been in the back of my mind all this time that actually... we were talking about this new range of guitars from Scan Pro Audio, right? About how they're like a UK-based rival for people like Harley Benton, but a much smaller range. But
exactly,
I think what this goes to prove is, the man behind the brand, or certainly the man whose name is on the brand, he's got a serious heritage in this industry. It's not just a guy at the top of a chain of management within a a company that's got the idea to try and create a range of guitars. But this is a man who's got albums and albums of fingerstyle acoustic music and pop music out from his past, who's demoed extensively for some of the biggest brands in the industry. And it's actually, I've kind of got re-excited about this new brand, in a little bit, because I'm kind of like, I want to try him out again, because this is a guy who's had his hands on some of the best instruments for the last 3 decades at least, so I'm sure that he's having the final say-so on how good these instruments are when they come out. And I want to get my hand on the acoustics. That's the one thing, I regret when we were at the guitar show is I didn't try out the acoustics.
That was one of my regrets.
Yeah. And I think I want to get my hands on the acoustics.
So I've had some reflections post-guitar show as well, because we managed to steal a few moments, didn't we, while we were there. And just get kind of at our halfway point through the show, where we'd done a quick blitz round, we'd had a quick scope of the lay of the land.
We spent half an hour queuing for a sandwich.
Oh man! Next time, I said this the time I went the year before, was bring a packed lunch, because man, the catering services there are just dire, absolutely dire. Anyway, but we stole a few moments to ourselves and found a little booth and did some recording. But we then went on to walk around the show for a good couple of hours more, and met the team at Crimson Guitars. Big highlight for me, meeting Ben there. That was awesome. That was
cool.
What a dude. And then checked out a few more guitars and had a look around, and it was good. It was good, man. It was good. I had a really good day. It was good to spend the day with you, going around and just looking at stuff and trying stuff out. Oh man, I ended up walking away from a guitar that now is going to be added to the list of ones that got away.
God, I forgot about that.
What an idiot!
Do you know what made me sad for you is that you clearly connected with that guitar as soon as you picked it up, and you chose not to go for it. And I think because you'd already satisfied that. You satisfied your buying kind of bug in your mind because you'd managed to pick up that pedal.
Yes.
And I think you'd put it down on kind of.
So we need to talk about that as well.
We need to talk about that, of course, But I think you'd put that guitar down, and then afterwards, when you asked me about what was that guitar, I thought you clearly having a little bit of a buyer's remorse kind of thing of not having bought that guitar. But I felt sad because once we'd figured out what the guitar was and we'd searched for it, it's just not available anywhere, is it? See, it's like that. That one might have been the last one in the country.
in existence anywhere.
I can't even find out who the retailer was that it was on a stand for. It was next to ATB guitars, just behind those guys, behind all the vintage stuff. But it was, and I've looked at it a couple of times as well since, and I've been like, that is actually a beautiful guitar. Really, really nice, different instrument. It was a Cort Xenon. Do you
remember what the model was? Thank you.
Yeah, Cort Xenox. I think it was a Xenox, so sort of a Z. Cort Xenox. Yeah. And it was a Z42 in black. Yeah. So really, almost a metal-looking thing, but actually quite a, kind of like those EMG style pickups, not actual EMGs, but through body, tunematic kind of thing going on. Just a really cool-looking guitar. Very ergonomic looking, some really cool cutouts and things. Sorry, I'm making it worse for you.
It was you are, man. I'm reminiscing now. Well, do you know what it was, right? Because we went around the guitar show. I mean, and it's literally like it's worse than kids in a candy store, right? Because once you've had your candy fix, you're kind of like, I feel a bit sick now, and I'm going to stop eating candy. But for us, it was just literally an all-day extravaganza of just looking at the things that make us happy, right? And so we went there clearly with a mindset that we might buy something, and something might jump out at us. And there was lots of lovely things that I saw, but again, trying to keep my gas syndrome in check and not just purchase unnecessarily. I was like being very measured and very tempered with it and going, there's some stuff that looks cool and that excites me. Some of the Cort fat guitars that we saw, were they the G20s or something they called?
G290 fat 2s, I think they were, and they had fat ones.
Fat 2s and the fat ones. Yeah. Great guitars.
And they had a good deal
lovely
on as
roasted
well.
maple neck. They did, so they were nice, and then we saw everything from that kind of range, all through the luthier built, like custom stuff, all the way through to ATB that had like these 59 and 60s bursts, like original bursts. So we had the full spectrum in front of us, and I was like, well, look, if I wanted to buy something today, what would it be? And I kept looking around and thinking, it's good, but like you, when you've bought and got a number of guitars, you get to a point where you go, okay, but for something else to be bought, it needs to be something that excites me in that way. And for some reason, that black Cort Xenox or whatever it's called that we saw was just like a Cort's version of a Les Paul, but they'd ergonomically done beautiful stuff to the back heel of the neck where it joins the body. The contouring on the body was great. It had EMG pickups in it. It had a beautiful gloss finish. And I'm pretty certain it had that kind of like exposed wood binding, like normally where you get the plastic binding that goes round on a Les Paul, but they've done it in this one where it was like almost like a and it with a flame in the binding that you could see, and it was going for something silly like 250 quid or something. Was that it?
You'd buy that all day long. I was surprised you didn't buy it. I was surprised you didn't.
I'm surprised I didn't buy it.
But why is that, Kiran? Have you thought about that since? Why didn't you buy it? Is it because you've not been in the mindset for buying a guitar for a while anyway, have you? I don't know if that's part of it.
No.
Yeah.
No, because everything I pick up, and we'll talk about this again a bit more because I've been to a guitar shop since then as well.
Oh, yeah.
Everything disappoints me. Everything disappoints me.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Well, that's not strictly true.
Or rather, the bar's a bit higher. Maybe the bar's a bit higher. And it's the whole thing of the cost of living crisis and stuff going on. Again, I've been looking on eBay and looking at the used market. People are asking stupid money for guitars and things. And, when you've got the likes of Gibson, who I'll get to again for a little beating this episode on what they're kind of charging and stuff for things.
I should have brought some popcorn with me today, shouldn't I?
I'm not going to rant. I think I didn't buy it, mate, because as beautiful as it was, I thought, do you know what? It was getting pretty late in the day by then, wasn't it? It was probably about 10, 15 minutes left of the show to go. And I hadn't had a chance to sit down and properly play it. And I'd already got something that day, which had fulfilled my needs. So do you remember I spoke about on the show a couple of months back, this pedal by Funny Little Boxes?
Yeah.
The 1991, the Pearl Jam one. Well, that obviously, because it went through a huge boost in popularity, it was running out of stock, and you had to queue up and join a list and all of that. And then the chap Andy at Funny Little Boxes, had a period off work, so then the waiting list got a bit longer. But anyway, I kind of had my order placed, and I knew it was going to be arriving in the next month or so because stock levels and stuff were coming back online and everything. So that was cool. And then we were at the show, and we'd missed this the first time round, but we bumped into somebody at the cafeteria who had in their hands the Funny Little Boxes 1991 pedal. And I pretty much jumped on them, and I was like, where did you get one of those?
Sorry to interrupt this conversation. However, if you've made it this far, you should definitely subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast app. Go and do that now, then come right back. Welcome back.
Thinking they might be at the show selling it or whatever, because they're going for silly money on eBay, because they were in short supply. And it was like, oh, the guy's here. He's selling them here. And I thought, oh, well, I've had mine on back order for a while. I didn't realise he was going to be here and all of this. I thought, right, I better go and find him. So we went and found him. Yeah. What a lovely guy.
Amazing. Really nice.
Told him that I had one on order. Yeah, I told him I had one on order, and he was like, oh, well, why don't you just take one here? And so he looked up my order on his phone, could see that I'd placed the order, and he just went, well, here you go, take it now, here it is. And then, bless him, reached into his pocket and pulled out a good chunk of change and put it in my hand and went, well, there you go, there's no point me charging you for the postage that I'd originally charged you. Because you're here and picking it up.
How nice is that?
What a gentleman.
What an absolute gentleman. Yeah.
What a gentleman.
But how?
So I got my pedal.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. It's sitting there on my side table here, where all my pedals are displayed. Yeah. In pride possession, I've got the Velcro on the back of it, ready to go on the board. And I've just been either gigging or with the family, and I need to figure out where it's going to integrate on my board and just spend a bit of time just getting to know the pedal. So it's been like 2 weeks, and I haven't even plugged the thing in yet to try it. So that's on the to-do list for next week is give it a go on its own, and then see where it will integrate on the board for the next gig. So, but yes, thank you very much. Funny Little Boxes.
I'm so pleased you managed to pick that up. I'm so pleased because it was you were raving about it when you first mentioned it, and I knew that obviously he'd had his reasons for not being able to fulfill his demand at that time. He'd had some personal health issues, hadn't he? Which he thankfully he's absolutely fine now. It was great to see him looking so well. But I was so pleased for you when you managed to pick it up, because you were kind of like, you said after you picked it up, you were like, that's brilliant. I feel like I've bought something now from the guitar show. I don't have to worry about feeling like I'm going away with nothing, kind of thing. Which is kind of cool.
Well, the weird thing was I left with something and more money than I came to the guitar show with, because he refunded me part of the price. So bless him.
That's a good point, actually.
I know, I left with more. But no, I thought I didn't. The other reason I didn't buy that Court is I thought I don't really know anything about this guitar other than it looks super lovely and it's reasonably cheap. Yeah. And I thought, do you know what? We're running out of time. We've been here all day. I'll make a mental note of it and then have a look online and get back in touch with the seller that's here and say, oh, I saw your guitar at the guitar show. Can I buy it and do it that way? Anyway, got home, couldn't remember the guitar, couldn't remember the seller at the show, and then thanks to your diligence and kind of piecing bits together, we eventually found the guitar, and it's a discontinued line from 2017. So it's the one that got away.
Well, I was literally like trying to search for it. I was like, I'm in the back of my mind, I thought it was a Court, but I couldn't see the model on their website. So I even went as far as to kind of go, well, who's the biggest kind of online sales of guitars? I was thinking it's Toman probably, something like that. So I even went on there and did like a search for black single cut electric guitars, and then was just going through page after page of trying to find that one, and then I was kind of like, no, I think it was a Court, and then I started searching for Court guitars, and it turns out it's one that I don't think they make anymore, but you could still find the page for it on their website. You just couldn't find it if you were going searching their website. You had to Google it correctly to get the link.
That's it.
And then found it that way. And I'm like, that's definitely one, because it's a really lovely design of a guitar, but it's quite unique in that it's got like the through body stringing, even though it's got a tune-o-matic bridge.
Yeah.
And it's quite wide for a Les Paul style single cut thing. It's a bit of a wider body between the, probably somewhere closer to like a 339 width rather than a Les Paul, like that kind of a smaller ES style kind of width. It seemed like a slightly bigger body than other guitar, but it's fair play to Cort. They make some fantastic instruments. That's just another one there, which was
they really do.
And it
had EMGs in it, which I still can't find. I can't even find one with EMGs in it that came stock with EMGs. So
that was an upgrade. That was an upgrade. So that one would have been an upgrade to EMGs. Yeah, because if you go on Cort's website and find that page, it doesn't come with EMGs. It comes with Cort style.
No.
Cort pickups that are meant to look like EMGs. Yeah, so it's not the EMGs. So that's somebody who's upgraded it. And also, I think I hate to say it, Kiran. I hate to say it. I mean, if you're going to get a deal on a guitar, it's in the last 10 minutes of the guitar shop before they're packing everything up. He's just about to pack it up, and if he's got it there for 250, 300 quid, you could have said 190, and he might have snapped your hand off just to get it. Make sure he's not packing
take
up.
It now.
Yeah.
I literally made every mistake in the book there. Yeah, seriously, learn from my mistakes, people. The guitar show price is going to be the cheapest price because it is. The whole point of that type of guitar show is you get stuff that you don't normally get everywhere. So, point in case, not that I knew it at the time, but this was a discontinued blooming line from 2017. I'm going to find this guitar. Yeah. By the power of the Guitar Smarts podcast, I'm going to find this guitar somehow, and it will be mine. In true Wayne's World fashion, it will be mine. How do we find this guitar? Right.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah, it's the power of the many.
I'm going to have to contact the International Guitar Show London and get a floor plan of exhibitors. Yeah, so I remember where it was on the exhibitor floor.
Yeah, that's right.
So then, if I get their name, then I can see Sherlock.
You can do this.
I'm on it.
You're like Luther. You're like
Lukather?
No, not Lukather.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not that good.
Steve Lukather Skywalker.
Right, that's my mission now.
That's your mission now, for sure.
My mission has become, tune in Guitar Smarts audience. I will go on an elusive hunt to find this guitar. It will be mine.
Oh dear. Speaking of guitar hunts, tell me about your recent trip to a guitar store. What's the deal, right? So this is for the first time in a while, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if I should say the guitar store or not.
Well, it depends.
I'm going to, because it's one of my, if not my favourite guitar stores of all time. And the things I will say, I don't think are a discredit to them. They're a fantastic store with fantastic customer service, and I bought many guitars off them in the past. So when I used to live in the town of Farnham in Surrey, UK, this was my local guitar store. I no longer live in that town, but my dentist is still in that town. So I still drive back there periodically to go to my dentist. Yeah. It would just so happen that the reason I haven't moved dentists and make a 2-hour round trip to go to my dentist when there are perfectly viable dentists where I now live is because said dentist also happens to be next door to my favorite guitar store. So, I'm one of the only people that gets really excited when I get a call saying, good afternoon, sir. You are due for your regular 6-monthly checkup with the hygienist or with the dentist. I'm like, yes, get in. They're like, this guy's a little bit weird. Why is he so excited? It's got nothing to do with the dentistry. No, absolutely not. And everything to do with the fact that I can make a day of it, shall we say, and get myself a coffee and have a little wander around.
There you go.
So that's what I did.
That's fantastic. That's such a great reason to stay with a particular dentist.
Yeah, exactly. It cost me a fortune in fuel to get there and back, but hey ho. He's a good dentist, though,
Yeah.
so that is cool. So, first thoughts: beautifully stocked as ever, Guitar Village in Farnham. Stunning stock as always. Really lovely that they do everything from like the entry level instruments, the things that we've been talking about from Court and Epiphone stuff and all of that, all the way up to as expensive as you want to go. They've got, and I love the fact that you start off on the ground floor with all of that kind of accessible stuff, and the more you wind your way up the staircases into these little hidden rooms and alcoves,
right.
the more kind of rare and beautiful things become. It's a cool store.
It's like
a really
it's
cool
like
store.
some kind of game, isn't it? Where the further in, the harder it is to steal, the more expensive stuff.
That's it.
Not that I'm encouraging stealing. So it is laid out like that.
No, for sure. Do
you know what? Sorry to interrupt, but I've got to say, one of the things I love about Guitar Village is it's the only music store I've ever been in that could be a museum. I mean, you could take the price tags off everything, and you could change the sign outside from Guitar Village to Guitar Village Museum, and it would be a working museum because it's such a beautiful building, old and well cared for building. And it just feels like you're inside history when you're in there. I think that it's almost an experience itself being at that store. It's a beautiful guitar store.
It really is. It really is. And they've gone back to stocking a lot of Gibsons now, as well as everything else from PRS to Fender to Music Man.
Yeah.
And then they've got a lovely second-hand room now as well. They always did second-hand gear, but now they've got a dedicated room which is all kind of pre-owned stuff, but some really lovely pieces in there as well. So yeah, just a good mooch around. If you fancy meeting up tomorrow for a coffee, mate, we can go there. I think I've got a free pass from the wife, so I might be heading back there tomorrow, or another guitar store. I'm into guitar stores at the moment. So what did I experience there? Well, I ambled into one of the rooms, which was a little PRS room.
Okay.
So some PRS SEs and all kinds of lovely little PRS goodness and hollow bodies. And
did they have the one you had like the? Did they have the? No, they didn't have that one in the green.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
In the Ariza Verde, I think, or something it was called, with the 2408 electronic switch. So exactly. Then no, they didn't have one of those, but there was a whole corner set up and ready to go with various guitars hanging from the wall and on stands, and it was a whole smattering, my friend, a whole smattering of John Mayer Silver Sky PRS model guitars.
Finally,
not the SE,
the full fat USA
versions.
Okay.
In a whole range of different colours, just sat there, and me in an empty room, and me going, oh, okay, right then.
All right.
The time has come.
So pause there, right? I want to know now from you, what was going through your mind before you tried those guitars out? What were you thinking? Were you thinking like, this is awesome, I'm going to really now understand the hype of these guitars, or were you skeptical, or were you were skeptical, or what? No, I was exactly the former. I was like, oh, brilliant, I've got a bit of time here. I'm going to try some stuff out. I didn't have a huge amount of time because I'd also seen something else that while I was wandering around, which I was like, oh, I want to make some time to try that. But okay, we've got to try one of these Silver Skies, right? So I sat myself in a chair, and the guys there are really cool. If it's not a locked in instrument where they need to come in and unbolt it or whatever from the security cage or straps, then you're pretty free to just pick it up and sit and have a play. And these weren't locked up; they were just there. So I thought, okay, fine, right. Well, I'll sit on this chair and I'll have a look at it first. So picked it off the rack and then looked it around. I don't know what I was expecting, mate. I don't know whether I was expecting it to start playing itself or just all of a sudden emit some kind of angelic like light and kind of, Did you play slow dancing?
Well, I first gave it a look over. And I went, okay, just a quick cursory look over.
Yeah.
But very, very quickly just put it in my hands. And it was a maple board one, I must say. They only had maple board ones, not none of the rosewood boards ones that I could see. So anyway, I put it in my hands and I strummed a chord and I was like, okay, first thing, that's completely out of tune. So fine, right, let's tune it up. Not a problem. Guitars go out of tune. Not an issue. Tuned it up. Played it again. Still out of tune. Okay, right, let's just stretch these strings in a little bit. Stretch them in, tune it up. Okay, it's kind of holding tune at the moment, but not really. These strings need stretching in a lot more. The action, I mean, PRS, supposedly famed for leaving the factory with these beautiful gig-ready instruments, right? That's what everyone talks about. The concept that you're supposed to be able to take this guitar and go and gig it straight away. The action on this guitar was high, like not like intermediate, kind of a happy balance where some people might like a low action, some people might like a slightly higher one, so we'll compromise and we'll go in the middle and do an all comer kind of action.
Really?
It was high, really high. Yeah, I was like, this is weird. Tuned to kind of standard pitch. Neck relief, there was a bit that could come out of in there. Overall, the action was high. And then when I started doing bends on this thing, it was a scratchy feeling to underneath the guitar string on the fret. And I looked and I was like, that can't be right because these frets look gleaming. So why am I getting that kind of scratchy feeling to it? And I thought, hold on, maybe I'm playing an SE. That's what it is. This must be an SE. The setup, the setup's not right. This is just not. So I looked at it. No, this was a £2,500 John Mayer Silver Sky, which I was expecting to just feel and play like butter. And I thought, well, that is just really, really disappointing. I've picked up Mexican-made Strats off the shelf that felt better. I definitely from a like just impact perspective picked up American standard Strats that just oozed a bit more mojo than this. You look over it and it is a beautifully made instrument. The appointments on it, like the machine heads and things, are wonderful. But overall, it just looked like a pretty basic Strat. And then the setup on it was just nothing special. And to this point, I was so disappointed that I didn't even bother plugging it in. I just thought, do you know what? That has disappointed me that much. I'm going to go and spend my time looking at something else. And another day, I'll come back and sit down and try one of these properly with a rosewood board, which would be one that I would go for in any case. And I want to A/B it with the Silver Sky SE to see what the point difference is. Yeah. But I have never been more disappointed in picking up a $2,500 instrument than I have with that one. And that's no diss to the guitar store, who are fantastic. This was clearly an out of the box guitar put on the rack, which they would be able to set up to perfection and make it wonderful and all of that, because they've got great guitar techs there and all of that. But that's not what I expect from a $2,500 guitar off the shelf, for it to feel really lackluster.
Man, that's what a disappointment. I mean, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you because, right from when those guitars came out, not just the SE version, but which we spoke about at the beginning of the year, if you remember, but right from when the original guitars came out years ago, we talked then about getting together and to go and try them out because, it's for the first, it was an interesting take on the Strat for the first time in a while, and to finally now get your hands on one and to have that kind of lackluster an experience with it. It's really disappointing. But do you know what? I've often wondered how Paul Reed Smith feels about those guitars. Because as someone who's built his career and his business on being the alternative to the Fenders and the Gibsons of the industry, as somebody who's here to say this is something that stands up just as well as what they make, but it's not the same thing, and has grown and grown and grown into this one of the big players in industry, and then now John Mayer comes along, and after just a few years, his biggest selling guitar of all time is now just a Strat. I wonder how he feels. I wonder if Paul Reed Smith ever thinks that. I wonder if he ever thinks, I've spent all this time developing these instruments that people love and that are amazing and are an alternative, and now the biggest selling guitar I've ever made is a Strat. I wonder how he feels about that. And maybe he just thinks, do you know what? Maybe he just thinks, you know what, that guitar is now paying to keep the doors open and the wages for everyone who makes all the other guitars for me, maybe. But
we've seen some guitar manufacturers come under pressure, right? Even well-established ones of late because of exactly that. So maybe the fact that maybe he looks at it and goes, this is the guitar that saved my business, in terms of, at least, not saved his business, but kept the money coming in when everything else around is getting tight. But I'm not leaving it there, because I think, like with anything in life, this was an isolated, potentially bad first experience with, because I can't be wrong. I can't be right on this. I must be wrong, because this is singularly the most popular guitar, arguably, in the last couple of years.
It can't all be like that. It has to be an isolated experience.
There can't be. I think it must be an isolated experience. Although I will say, one of the friends of our show, who recently was the lucky recipient of an owner of a now beautiful brand new Clapton Blackie Strat. Tried one of these and was a bit meh with the Silver Sky.
Yeah,
but I just thought, well, he's not a John Mayer fan anyway,
no,
so it's, it was always, the Clapton Strat was always going to win. But I've played that Clapton Strat and it hasn't been set up by me yet. It's fresh out of the box set up, and it's stunning. I could improve it and I could tweak it and I could get an extra 5-10% out of it, for sure. But that's what you expect, even with a $2-3-4 instrument. That's just refining and personalizing. That PRS Silver Sky, I would have needed to have spent some good time to get it close to what I would say would be an acceptable setup, and then refine it further from there. So I think that's an isolated incident. So one of the things I'm going to do this weekend, because I have got some time this weekend, is I'm going to do a follow-up to this bit of conversation, because I'm going to go back to another guitar shop this weekend, and I'm going to try a couple more out, and I'm going to see if I can get the SE as well, and do a bit of A-Bing, because I've got to be wrong about this. I've waited all through lockdown to try one of these. They must be as good as everyone's saying.
They have to be. They really. I mean, look, the sales would speak for themselves, wouldn't they? But saying that, John Mayer fans will buy, the same thing that John Mayer buys, whether it's any good or not. I think. That's a sweeping generalization, I know. But I think he does have a lot of strength in in that brand, in any brand that he decides to get behind, I should say. He's such an influential guitarist. I think you need to do some you do need to do some wider research, don't you? Just kind of, for sure, man, try some other.
I mean, I didn't even plug it in. I was so taken aback and so disappointed. I was like, I don't even want to plug you in. What I will say is, though, when I strummed it and played it acoustically without even plugging it in, it did have a beautiful resonance and liveliness to it, which made me realise that this would sound great plugged in. When you just strum a guitar, acoustically without plugging it in, and you go, ooh, there's something to this. It did sing. It did. It did come to life, but it was just so badly set up, in my opinion, that I just didn't want to take it any further that day. And because there was something in the next room that I wanted to try out even more.
Right. What was that?
So in the next room, they had a previously used section, and they had, which is quite rare because you don't find this, and these guitars don't get enough airtime, particularly in the UK, maybe in the Far East, etc., where you've got access to them. And occasionally we get shipments into the UK, but it's really rare, and not all dealers do them. But they had a Tokai Love Rock guitar, Les Paul, Japanese made one in Guitar Village. a few years old.
Okay.
Basically mint condition.
Yeah.
Right. Completely mint condition. Few years old. Full fat, Japanese built Les Paul, all the bells and whistles. This was the guitar that Gibson had a major issue with because of how good it was. A copy of
exactly. They were one of the first. They actually raised a lawsuit against, weren't they, Tokai?
They were called the lawsuit model for a long time. Those love rods. So this is a good few years old now. Tokai is still producing these, and I'm a fan of the Tokai made in China ones, which you can get a little bit more readily, but still not that often. Those are the Les Pauls that I'm gigging at the moment, which I've done a few mods to, but they're just phenomenal guitars. And the quality and build control of those is overseen by the Japanese anyway. It's just that they're assembled in China and then Japanese quality control, but it's got all Japanese parts and specs on it, just not fully made in Japan. So, but the real Japanese ones, brand new, go for 1,200, 1,300 quid.
Yeah.
When you can get them. So brand new with case, everything, all of that, which immediately is £1,000 less than the Gibson equivalent.
Yeah,
standard,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But we're talking, incredible like custom shop style guitars. But I've not tried one of these before. The full fat Japanese one. This used one was 900 quid in Guitar Village.
Wow.
Mint condition, absolutely mint condition. Not a mark on it. Beautiful cherry sunburst, beautiful flame top, just stunning, absolutely stunning. So anyway, got that. Kind chap there, Richard, set me up with a nice amp, little Black Star, plugged it in, and then said, A/B this versus the real thing and see what you think. So he pulled me down one of the new 1950 standards by Gibson, put that on the Tokai in front of me and said, here you go. Check it out. He said, I hope you like the Gibson more. That's what I'd like you to like more, because obviously it's phenomenally more money.
Like £2,000,
yeah. And so it was also a chance for me to have a real deep dive into Gibson's latest kind of Les Pauls and see, what is the quality better? Are they producing better guitars now?
Yeah.
Now they're under new management and all of that. So what I would say is the Gibson was very good.
Yeah,
really nice. Actually, one of the nicest Gibsons that I've played. So clearly, and this was off the shelf. Quality is back up.
Yeah,
it was very good. Stupid money for what it is. Considering a few years ago, this type of guitar would have been at least £700, £800 cheaper as list price. So they've put all the prices up, but it was a good guitar. But it was still, the best part of nearly £1,000 more than this Tokai, albeit. Sorry, I should have said the Gibson was a used one as well. It was an ex-demo one, so it had money off it anyway.
Okay.
But the Tokai was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. The only thing that stopped me buying that Tokai on the day was that it had the big fat 50s chunky neck profile.
Okay, you prefer a 60s kind of profile, the slimmer.
Yeah, like a 59 to 60s kind of. So the 60s taper is pretty slim. The kind of 59 one is a little bit kind of medium slim, which is my preference. But this was more like a 58 kind of neck profile, which are, the big chunky neck profile. So only on that basis did I not go for it. Tokai do loads of different love rocks with different neck profiles. So this one, just on the day, was for me just kind of like, it's a shame. It's a beautiful guitar. It sounded incredible. It sounded better than the Gibson. The pickups in it were livelier. It had more bite to it. It was more airy. It sounded better than the Gibson. Its neck profile was more of a 58 neck profile, and for me that was just not ideal for a gigging instrument, but stunning, absolutely stunning.
Wow.
So it just validation for me that I love Gibsons. I've got a bunch of them. They're great guitars, but look at other manufacturers, and if you want to get a Les Paul, the Tokai is the headstock shape is the same, identical. All the specs are exactly the same. It looks and plays better than a Gibson.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think those Tokais are fantastic, and certainly, you can't argue with the value for money that you get with them. And even like a brand new Japanese made Love Rock is going to be going for, you know, what, 1,500 quid at the most, something like that. Still a serious saving on an equivalent US-made Gibson model. Do you know what? The other thing I must say as well is one of the things I want to do the next time I get a chance to go to a guitar store and spend a bit of time is I want to try out just the latest stuff from Epiphone, because I just keep hearing just amazing things about their guitars over the last couple of years. They've really raised their game. You know, I was watching a video recently. One of the guys on YouTube I follow quite a lot, Rhett Shull, you know, from Atlanta in USA. He does some good videos.
Yeah, I watch a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, he does some really, really good content, and I like him as a guitarist as well. I think he's a good guitarist. You know, he did a video recently where he did a shootout of 6 Les Pauls, and it started with the Epiphone standard, then it was like the Gibson Classic, so like the bottom of the range Gibson, and then the Gibson Studio, and then all the way up through to like you know, custom shop, you know, R9 type thing. And the one thing that I think blew him away the most was the quality of the Epiphone, you know. And I think largely down to the fact that you know, when you buy an Epiphone now, you're getting proper CTS pots, you're getting burst booker pickups, you're getting US Gibson quality hardware built into that instrument, and they're just making such fantastic guitars now. I think if I wanted a Les Paul or a 335,
I'm looking through.
I'd probably go with an Epiphone or a Tokai, quite frankly.
I saw one. I'm looking now in this copy of Guitar Magazine somewhere that I've got in front of me. And I saw 335 Epiphone advertised. And I was like, oh, that's got you written all over it. I'm trying to flick through the magazine now and see if I can find it for you. But I was like, oh, Matt needs that in his world. I'll try and find it and send you over a picture. But it was an absolute stunning looking guitar. Yeah. Anyway, I'll find a picture of it and send it to you, and we can go and try one of these and see.
Yeah, I'd love to try out some of those. I mean, especially like the 335s that Epiphones are doing at the moment. They're supposed to be fantastic. Like the figured one, the figured maple one, inspired by Gibson range, is meant to be utterly superb, and they're just punching well above their weight at the moment.
Yeah. Cool, man. Cool.
So you had those. Actually, now, wow, you've raised a good point there. You're just looking through the guitar magazines.
Oh yeah. I had a rant to you as well just before the podcast, didn't I? While I've got the guitar magazines open in front of me. So I haven't bought guitar magazines for years, since the advent of the internet, and an offer came up online somewhere that was just like, subscribe now and basically you'll get like 6 issues for basically like £1 each or something.
Yeah.
I was like, actually, that's pretty good value, because they're retailing for like £6.50. So what's that, like $8 or something per magazine? I'm like, that's quite a lot. So I wouldn't normally go and buy that. But so I ended up subscribing to Guitarist and Total Guitar for like 6 months basically, and it cost me like, I don't know, 12 quid or something like that for some cost. Like, I haven't even had time to sit down and read them, mate. But look, there's a stack. Look at all these brand new guitars. Yeah, it's brilliant. There's so much stuff. I mean, considering I'm on a guitar podcast, I should really sit down and read some of these and share some nuggets with our listeners. Which actually, to be fair, I have flicked through some of these and had a look, but and read them, but just finding time, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, one observation: they're still beautiful to look at. There's still incredible photography in them, and they're nice to just chuck in the work bag if you're sitting on a train or something like that and have a bit of a read. So, you know, credit to Guitarist and Total Guitar. You're still producing great magazines. Do they still have the same magic to me that they did when I was a young kid, when I used to pour through these and read the same edition like 5 times? You know, no, not my life's too complex now to do that. It's more about flicking and skimming through them and having a bit of a read rather than devouring every page and hanging on their every word. I'm just too short with the attention span. But So really beautiful. I mean, look at this one. Latest edition of Guitarist, issue 492. 70 years of the Les Paul, right? Beautiful burst on the front. Look at that.
That is stunning.
Just absolutely incredible, right? And on the inside, I must say, they have done, and I haven't sat down to read this yet. This is one of my little guilty pleasures that I'll do when I can steal a moment this weekend with a glass of something nice. They've got a full, like, I don't know, it must be like 15 odd pages, which is the entire history of the Les Paul with different pictures, you know, double page spreads on all the gold burst, the Black Beauty stuff, particular models. So, I mean, I know I've got books on Les Pauls anyway, so, but it's just nice that they've gone into this level of nerdery and depth. And I'm gonna learn some stuff from that I didn't know, and it goes on for pages and pages and pages, all about the Les Paul. So if you're into Les Pauls, there you go. One of the observations, though, I don't know what you think of this, right? Like, I've sense checked this morning. Okay. Right. So there's a stack. You've just seen, our listeners haven't, but there's a stack about, I don't know, half a foot high of these guitar magazines, right? And I've gone through and checked. Like, they do these reviews of gear. That is basically what a guitar magazine is, right? And then they critique them and they go in depth about the fit and the finish and the sound and, you know, other models available and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of thought, I feel like I'm in constant deja vu reading these reviews. Because everything gets either an 8 or a 9 or a 10 out of 10, and a guitarist's choice stamp next to the review. And I thought, well, that can't be possible. Surely there must be more kind of subjective. Maybe not being critical
enough then.
Well, they're not being critical at all, or at least the scores they're giving are completely. So here's an example for you, right? So they've just reviewed the latest Gibson Les Paul Standard Faded. Have you seen these ones that just come out?
No, I haven't actually.
So this is another one of guitars that got away from me. Back in like 2005, when I had no money, Gibson produced a run of Les Pauls which were satin finish, so not high gloss.
Yeah. I remember
those. Do you remember those? They're beautiful finishes. Yeah,
I think they also did one that was like called like a Gibson Les Paul, like around the same time. I think it was called like a BFG. Or something like that. That was like,
yes,
is that right? Yes. It was like a bit more of a hard rock version, but it was like unfinished or satin
from
finished.
That era. The BFG was,
thing.
Yeah,
right,
the BFG.
Okay,
yeah. But they also did a kind of run of just faded ones, right, which were very popular. But they only did them as a short run for like that year or something, and they were really well priced. They were really, really competitively priced as well. Like probably like just only a little bit more money than like a studio Les Paul. So they were bang for buck. Anyway, Gibson, as you well know and love, Matt, them living off their past glory days and simply churning out the same guitar time and time again and remarketing it, have reissued the faded Les Pauls now. So they got it's only available in two finishes, in a 50s version. Or a 60s one. Okay. So and they've done an SG as well, right? Okay. So there you go. You can get a 50s one in a kind of honeyburst finish, or you can have a 60s spec one in a kind of almost weird neon cherry sunburst color. You can't see it on there, but it's a very strange looking cherry finish, and an SG. Anyway, good guitars by the looks of it. But still stupidly expensive, over £2,000, £2,169, considering it's not had a gloss. Yeah, it's really expensive, isn't it? For basically a guitar that's clearly been pulled off the run halfway through the finishing process, if that.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Sent to assembly. So. Guitarist magazine opinion of these. They're giving them 8 out of 10, by the way, for the Les Pauls, which is, to me, when somebody says 8 out of 10, I'm like, that's a pretty decent guitar.
Yeah, exactly. I
that's like, holy shit, 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right. So pros for these are, let's start with the 50s one. The 50s one has an excellent build, vibrant raw voicing, and a good weight. Cool. That's what they like about it. Cons. It's only available in one color. And when you read the details of the review, and they've mentioned it in the summary, the binding feels rough and unfinished with sharp edging. You go, what? That's weird. Okay. And then on the 60s one, they've said, like the 50s one, this is got good voicing and good build quality, slimmer neck profile here. That's what you'd expect for a 60s one. But it's heavier. It's much heavier than the 50s one, which is weird. And they've also put binding feels unfinished. So how can you pay £2,000 for a guitar where the binding feels sharp and
fret
and
ends
rough?
feels sharp? I mean, that is astonishing. That's not acceptable. I'd be taken back.
Well, it's not an 8 out of 10 guitar, is it?
It definitely isn't an 8 out of 10 guitar.
Anyway, rant over. But yeah, I just think the journalistic bias in these guitar magazines for the scores they give is ridiculous. Everything gets an 8 or 9 out of 10. Most things get a guitarist choice stamp of approval. And you go, well, if everything gets that, where is actually the stuff
well,
that
you can almost guarantee if it wasn't a Gibson, and it was something like an Eastman, something like that they'd be more critical about those things that they've pointed out in the cons, about like the fret ends and stuff like that, and they'd probably mark it down more. But I think Gibson, the brand, gets away with a lot. I think it gets away with a lot these days and has done for some time now, simply because I said this before. People seem to have a romance about Gibson as a brand because of what, when you think of vintage guitars, it's all Gibson pretty much, Gibson Fender, but it's, the old Les Pauls, the old ES335s, those are the most desirable things in vintage guitars. And I think I've always said, Gibson knows that. And I think they resent the fact that they can't make any money off the vintage market. They could only make money off stuff they build now. And I think they're clinging on all the time. Everything they make is always in some way trying to market it towards what it used to be. Like these new ones you just mentioned, standard 50s faded, standard 60s faded. It's all about whether it's a 50s or a 60s style Les Paul, but that's 60 years ago. I don't understand. I really, I don't understand why they haven't tried to. Well, and then again, they're also restricted by what the following is like, because when they tried to do robot tuners and Floyd Rose Les Pauls, they nearly got lynched. But still,
aren't you still on the search for robot tuners for your Epiphone?
I would have them today if somebody could tell me where I could get a set of robot tuners that are compatible with an Epiphone Les Paul. I'd have them today. I honestly would. Why would anybody not want a machine that tunes their guitar perfectly for them all the time? Why would anybody not want that? It's a modern. It's beyond me. It's beyond me. Van Halen had a switch on his guitar that quickly tuned his E string down to D. That's not a million miles away from the same kind of innovation. If you had something like that on a Les Paul, people would go crazy. It's the guitar and the people that like the guitar that are the problem for robot tuners, not the robot tuners themselves.
I'm definitely in that camp then, because that's just shocking behaviour. Absolutely, the worst thing that they ever did. I'm looking now for you. I'm looking to see where we can get you some of these, because maybe once we experience, and they're going used on eBay for 99 quid. There you go. Yeah, I don't think I can do better than that. £99, just over $100. You can get a used set, which is clearly somebody that's bought them on a Gibson and taken them straight off and gone, get off. Anyway, no, look, I don't think this is a Gibson bashing thing. In my opinion, this is it is me bashing Guitarist magazine though for literally giving everything like a high review. Where's the subjectivity? And not all publications do that.
No, you're right. And I've always thought that Guitarist magazine had a element of cork sniffery about it. Do you know what I mean? For those who I don't know if everyone who's listening understands what cork sniffing means, but it really means about people who put less importance in the finer details of things that really don't actually matter, things that may,
Yeah.
you know, that really don't affect the experience of something, but they really believe it does, you know. And I really, you know, I think there's a lot of that in the industry. I think there's a lot of that in guitar journalism. A lot of people that would say, you know, I prefer the sound of a slab board, you know, rosewood Strat over a laminate board, and that's cork sniffery because it's nonsense. It's nonsense. You think you can hear the difference in a guitar that has a slab board and a laminate board? That's just two guitars that sound slightly different. That's not, you know, you're imparting importance on something that's really not important, you know. To Leo Fender, it was just a cheaper way of putting rosewood on a board, was to laminate it rather than to do a slab, because that was less wood. You know, it's it's too much cork.
So one of the magazines I often read as well is What Hi-Fi magazine.
Yeah,
and in terms of a genre of stuff like which is rife for what you call cork sniffery, what I call snake oil, right? These magic ingredients that are all of a sudden going to be worth paying for, but really it's just nonsense. Like that, the audiophile hi-fi realm is like rife with that, right? You know, pay thousands of pounds for this, you know, gold-plated angel hair, you know, interconnect that's going to make your stereo system sound, you know, more lifelike and vibrant and punchy than this other cable costing half that money. It all gets a little bit silly, which I completely subscribe into, of course, because I'm on a constant quest for tone in every aspect of my life. So, you know, don't get me wrong, my hi-fi is full of ridiculous interconnects that are probably snake oil. But that said, when I read What Hi-Fi magazine, they've got their kind of rating system of stars, so it's all out of 5. I'll quite happily give products 1 or 2 stars out of 5 and say it sounds terrible, or it's not great, or wouldn't recommend it, or it's this or it's that. And they'll endorse products that are 5 stars. But to get a 5-star, you've got to be a genuinely good product. And I must say, credit to that publication. I know it's not a guitar-related thing, but that's an example of where a magazine that's been going for a long time, I can pick that up and read through it, and I can go, okay, well, look, it may not work in my exact setting and my mileage may vary, but at least these guys are applying a degree of complete complete kind of opinion to the scores that they give and telling you why they've given it that score. Whereas I read through Guitarist magazine and I've got no clue as to whether it's going to be something that's good or not, because everything gets 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. So, go figure. Anyway, I think I've been a bit ranty today. Maybe
not ranty. I don't think you've been ranty. I think, you know what, you've just been expressing your experiences over the last few weeks, and unfortunately, not all of them have been positive. That's the way I regard it, mate. You know, I've
complained about Guitarist magazine.
Hardly like
I've complained about Gibson
from years ago. Yeah.
That was a whole episode of ranting.
That was a whole episode of ranting.
Oh dear! I'm not the silver sky. I think I need to go and take some happy pills or something.
Yeah.
It's cold and miserable here in the UK at the moment.
Yeah.
But genuinely, I'm in a good mood. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'm looking forward to Black Friday, seeing if there's any bargains out there that can be grabbed.
Maybe there will be. There usually are. Maybe somebody somewhere will be selling a Cort, you know, Xenox Z42 on a nice Black Friday deal. You know, you just need to keep your eye out, Kiran.
Well, I'm already in end stage negotiations on a guitar off eBay at the moment.
Really?
Which is like, I don't know whether I should just press the button and buy it, but by everything that the guy said in his description, it looks perfect. It looks right. He's got incredibly high reviewers. He's a UK-based seller, you know, so same rough geography. The price is good. The guitar is one that I've been after for a very long time.
Okay.
The price is sensible, but the pictures he's got of it are just a bit rubbish. So I've said, can you just send me through some better quality pictures? So we've had lots of exchanges, and he's going to get me these better quality pictures, and we're going to go from there. But it's kind of like, come on, man, send me through the better quality pictures. If the pictures stack up to the description, I'm all over it. But it's not an insignificant amount of money, so I want to make sure that it is what it is. But there we go.
Well, I'm assuming then all will be revealed at some point, or not.
All will be revealed, of course, for sure. Tune in next week to see whether Kiran bought another guitar and whether it was a mistake or one that got away because he was being silly and waiting for pictures, and the guy sold it to someone else while he was procrastinating, waiting for a higher res picture.
It? This is what you're doing. You're trying to make up for not buying that court.
Definitely, yeah.
This is a rebound guitar, isn't it? This is what this is. This is like
it could be. It could be. It will be a great rebound guitar, because I have been after one of these for a long time. But the search to get the search in finding it was only driven by losing that Court guitar, which I've now promised Guitar Smarts listeners that I've got to go and find anyway. So I'm going to end up with two guitars.
Oh no! What a shame.
Or lose them both. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Right, I know what I'm doing after this call, though. Yeah. I'm going on Guitar Safari again. Virtual.
Absolutely. Well, enjoy it, buddy. I hope good luck with your negotiations on that guitar, and another cracking week, another conversation that I very much enjoyed. It's been great hearing your stories of your guitar store visits and things like that. I feel like I've lived vicariously through you, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Cool. Any plans for the week? Gigs coming up before we close it off?
Gig next weekend. No gigs this weekend. Had a gig last weekend, so weekend off this weekend. Do some family stuff. Try out this new pedal, the 1991 Bash. And maybe get to a guitar store and rectify the boiled opinion of the Silver Sky. And that's pretty much it, mate. Just a chilled one.
Fantastic.
How about you? You gigging this weekend?
No gigging. I have no gigs in the diary for me, but I have got family down from up north this weekend, which is going to be lovely. So just chilling out, spend family time this weekend, and just do a bit of relaxing. And that's it for me.
All
right, buddy.
Nice one, buddy. Right, catch up soon.
Have a cracking week, mate, and I will speak to you soon.
Cheers, pal.
All the best, bud. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening. If you like what you hear, then remember there are 66 other episodes going back almost 2 years that you can check out, where we talk about things like how to set up your guitar, the best budget guitar amps, music theory, or even a Guitar Smarts pub quiz. Go and enjoy them. Anyway, best wishes. See you next time on the Guitar Smarts podcast.